Hello, hello, hello. I am here with my hand puppets. And I'm using them as gloves now because it's cold. I really wanted to sit outside, make a video with the hand puppets, but then I did my grounding outside, but then I thought, no, it's just too cold, and sitting out there for an hour or something talking, I will get cold, my face will get cold, and I don't like it. So I make the video here, and I also have a Toblerone and I want to share that with you. Here is the Toblerone for you. And I have a bunch of stuff that I want to discuss in this video. One, thank you, Blue God. Okay. I was doing some artwork and I did an inwardness meditation that I was just sitting for like, I don't know, an hour or more with my computer, with my paper over the camera. But I was talking about the inwardness process, and I was sharing that with the hackers. So I'm pretty sure no, it's not just one hacker. Apparently there are several guys who have logged onto my computer, which is illegal. Oh, but I did the inwardness meditation. I cried. I talked about my childhood, my mother, and so on. I said that is the only path. There's no other path. I know how difficult it seems. It seems to the ego very frightening and devastating, and seems like an abyss. And from the higher perspective, I don't blame anyone for wanting to escape from it or run away from it, but the truth is that going into facing that is the only path we have. There is no other path. This is the best chocolate in the world. Made in Switzerland. The best. I'm amazed they sell this at Walmart. They have a huge factory in Switzerland that supplies the whole world. Endless supply. And I guess they sent that out on ships, and it has to go all the way through the Panama Canal, I guess. And it takes a long time until it comes to the west coast. This has been through the Panama Canal. I think that's the most reasonable way of shipment for them, because they load up those Chinese shipment containers, and that gets put onto semi-trucks, and at the harbors it gets put onto ships. I have a lot of insights when I cry and after I cried. The moment I feel stuff and cry through it, my brain becomes more clear and I can see stuff. I can see where I'm coming from and where other people are coming from. I don't blame anyone for anything. I love everyone. I love all of you. I really do. All of you. Every one of you. You're all my children. No matter how young or old. You're all my grandchildren. Once the Toblerone gets the room temperature, then it's easier to break it apart. This t-shirt here is short, so it always exposes my back. I have to make sure that I cover my back and my belly. Then I have some t-shirts that are actually polo dresses. Polo dresses for women that come over the hips. I love those the best because they keep my butt warm and they don't slide up. You know, like if I wear regular size t-shirts and I am fat and my back is very long. Okay, that comes from, I guess, the Scandinavian, Northern European DNA. My arms are short, my legs are comparably short. My back is no big torso that keeps people warmer in those cold climates. And so when I wear a normal size t-shirt and I work or do move my body around, that it slides up. And exposes my back and my love handles and my fat. So that's why I'm sewing myself winter sweaters right now at the other house that come way over my hips and that are specifically for the winter made out of fluffy fleece. I have a bunch of that material from bed sheets that are like this material here, fleece material. And I've already made a bunch of clothes with that, but I want to make more. I also want to make double layered sweaters that come down to the elbow, because I can't have long sleeves when I'm washing dishes or sewing or something. I don't like it when the sleeves fall into my paint or whatever I'm doing. I've OCD with that. And I need at the same time I need a thick sweater to cover up my back and my hips and all of that. It's very important. It doesn't slide up. So that's gonna be my next project at the other house. I'm gonna start on a double layered sweater that comes down to the elbows. So it's gonna be nice in gray. I want to talk about the horses in this video. I've been planning on talking about the horses because the horses are very straightforward in the way they communicate. And the reason why that is because they had a better childhood. It's true. I think the human species is the species on this planet where they cause the most hurt to their children. That's what I believe. More than any other species. That has to do with a bunch of different things, of course. And it has to do with living on land, with gravity. It has to do with the convoluted brain. It has to do with a convoluted Giri and Sulci in the gray matter of the brain, the cortex, cortical regions, particularly abstract processing, the prefrontal cortex. We need the prefrontal cortex, obviously, to make reasonable decisions that evaluates the situation. According to that, we make more reasonable decisions that will move us from one point to another. But this convoluted brain, the convoluted prefrontal cortex, also stands in the way because the ego makes use of it. The ego gets a hold of it and uses it to create irrational fears, convoluted fears, and so on. Self-deception, and all of that goes through that as well. So this doesn't happen in that convoluted way in animals or horses. They have ego too. I've seen it, and that's why I want to talk about this now. There was a very large herd of horses. I'm not going to say where it was, but they had hundreds of acres. They have hundreds of acres there in that place. And there are streams and rivers flowing through, so the horses always had fresh water to drink. This big herd of horses, they had a paradise out there. I don't know what happened to them. Last time I went there, this real large herd of horses was no longer there. There were 2 horses on that meadow. They were standing by the gate, and I have not seen those before. Black and white horses. I have not seen those before. And there were also black and white cows together with those horses. So they were all the animals were near the gate. They weren't even roaming around. And I petted the horses, and I was wondering what happened to that large herd of horses. I hope they didn't send those into horse slaughter. Poor things. They may have been wild horses that someone rounded up and put on that meadow or something. But I don't think so. It could be, but I don't think so. They had actually had a pony ranch where people could rent a horse and go to the lagoon with the horses. That business ended with when the pandemic started. I was glad because I didn't want heavy people riding these ponies anymore. So we went there a lot in the past. That's a much longer drive and out of the way than the other horse that we visit now. So the other horse we visit is also a bit out of the way, but that river is like, I don't know, maybe 3 miles past along the river off the actual highway 101. That's all I'm willing to say. But it is in between the 2 properties, so when we go from one house to the other, we will drive down the road of that river and drive the few miles towards the horse. We try to do that each time we go from one house to the other. So when we found those horses there, and particularly my enchanted unicorn, then we hadn't been. We didn't go to the other horses anymore. So we've only been to the other horses that are way towards the north, like 40 minutes north from the other house, not in between the houses. So we've only been there, I don't know, maybe a year ago, and after we hadn't been there for a long time, we stopped there and we saw that the big horse herd was no longer there. And I felt bad because I really loved them so much, and I felt a connection to them, and I felt like, yeah, but no, out of convenience reasons we didn't go there anymore because it was so far out of our way. But I miss them very much, and I hope they're safe. I hope they didn't sell them into a horse slaughter facility. I hope that wherever they went, that the horses have a large property like that one where they were on before, where the other horses are on now. So, but what I observed in that big horse herd out there were several things that I observed when I came there. It was carrots or apples, and I would stand there by the gate sometimes for an hour. We had more time there because Paul wasn't rushing me as much as when we go to my favorite horse on the river, because whenever we went north, we weren't in a rush. We weren't going from one place to another or shopping or something. So that was only for moseying trip, nature trip, day trip into the lagoons. So I sometimes spent like an hour at the time with those horses. I would stand there by the gate, and usually the two big brothers, they would come up the most. And the two big brothers, they were the biggest of all those horses. They looked like they had some draft horse in them, big hooves and large heads and bodies, and gorgeous horses. And the biggest of all, the biggest brother, orange and white horse, he was always the most cuddly with me, and liked to he liked to touch me, he liked to be petted, even if I didn't have anything to offer, like I didn't have any carrots or apples to give him. I would just be standing there petting him, and he liked that, enjoyed that. And I noticed one time his white brother wanted to come up too and wanted to be petted. And he got mad at the white brother, and he kind of stood, when they get mad at another horse, they stand with their butt towards the horse, with the ears going back like this, telling them in body language to not come close, or to be dominant and stuff like this. Or they would kick, like threatening to kick up. Or sometimes they would just they would be putting their two butts together and not really kick hard, but kind of like a butt competition. Yeah, so it's cute. So he didn't want his brother to come to me to be petted. And I thought, wow, that's exactly what people do too, So There's a rivalry going on in them. He doesn't want his brother to be petted. He wants the petting all for himself. And I thought that was very interesting. And I felt sorry for the brother, that he wouldn't let the brother come over. And that happened several times. They had different meadows. So one time over where they were on a smaller meadow, they came over, and that happened. And also on the very large meadow. And so then, when I was observing all of this, I started to realize that horses have egos, animals have egos too, but they're not as convoluted as in humans. They're more straightforward. Whatever they're angry about or sad about, they're more straightforward with expressing that, more honest about expressing that. They don't try to hide that. When they want something from someone, they come right over. They want to be petted by me, they come over and ask me to pet them. In a human, that's very, very different. That's way more convoluted. There is pride involved, there is shame involved, which is childhood trauma. There is a pretense involved, masks, emotional masks, and so on. Gaming face, as they call it. Like, I'm cool, I don't need you. But it's not the truth, obviously. They want to be petted too. But they're too afraid to be straightforward about it. So, unlike the horses, the horses will come over. They're not ashamed about it. They're also not ashamed to fart and burp and poop and pee in front of me. So they just do all of that right where they stand. So why should they be ashamed about this? They also mate with each other in front of other horses or in front of people, and they don't think anything about it, right? So it's just like, that's what they do, when they are in the mood. But people, they have to hide all of these things. They have to hide body functions, they have to hide their sexuality functions. Everything, is being disguised, pushed under the rug, shoved away, backstage, pretended that they don't have those motives, and so on. And out of that, of course, the need isn't going anywhere. The need is there no matter what. And it pushes itself through. And you should not be beating down on yourself and thinking you should hide this or whatever. Question society, with their shame and their pride and their standards and so on and on and on and on. It's like everything is based on neurosis. It's just neurosis, that's all it is. The human brain is neurotic. The horse is much more straightforward, much healthier in that way. So I observe all of these things. So whenever I visited the herd of horses, sometimes the big brothers would be very far away and they wouldn't even see that I was standing there. But I could see them from the gate. I could see them way out there, like acres and acres away, down by the other streams. And they would always be standing together, the two brothers, the big brothers. They knew they were brothers. I could see they were brothers, and they had exactly the same head, same the same shape of face and all of that. Same eyes, like albino eyes, really cute. So sometimes the other ones would come over, and often they would take turns. They will wait until one leaves, and then the other one would come up, because I saw rivalry among them as well. Didn't like it. Some of them did not, particularly the males didn't like it when another male would be coming up to me at the same time being petted. So they wanted the petting process for themselves, each at the time. The females, they were more okay with another horse coming up to me as well. Very interesting, all of this to observe. So seems like the male horses do recognize human women, okay, human female. So male horses recognize it when a human is a woman. Very interesting, all of that. So, I mean, even though we're like way different species, they recognize it. So, the great apes, of course, they're like people. They recognize all of that immediately. Also dogs, dogs recognize. A male dog will recognize immediately when a human is a man, and they become a bit territorial and so on. They're nicer to women. But that horses recognize that also, I find very interesting. So obviously there's a whole lot more going on in other species than people could have ever thought about, would have ever assumed. So I want to share this because I want to get the message across that the other species are people too. They're persons. They're persons with their individual personalities. It's the truth. Very similar needs, very similar, the same body functions, the same sexual needs, and so on. And then they have been exploited throughout hundreds of years by people acting like they're cars or machines that they could exploit. You can't even exploit a machine, a machine would break down too. Don't exploit any existence. Don't hurt any existence. Particularly not sentient beings. Don't sit on a horse when you are extremely overweight. Just don't do it. Depends on the horse, if the horse is extremely massive, like the Belgian draft horse, and you weigh 225 pounds as I do, yeah, you can sit on a Belgian draft horse, but not if you weigh more than that. People who weigh maybe if you're 250, you can still sit on a Belgian draft horse, but not more than that. Okay, really seriously. And I see men riding Iceland horses and other horses that are like the enchanted unicorn. Very overweight man. That the girl who is the owner, I don't like that word. The girl who has that horse that I go visit. The girl and her husband. The legal custodians or owners. I don't like it. I don't like owner. the words at all. But I'm just using this now for clarification. I am not the owner of the horse. So the horse is my friend. I go there visiting him. Okay. We don't even have enough acres for a horse at all. I could rescue a horse, but that would be an emergency situation. At the other house, we could convert the garage into a barn, and he could be grazing on that 1 acre of garden. That's not enough for a horse. So for that reason, I would never consider adopting a horse or buying a horse when I only have an acre of a garden. Okay, so it's cruel. Horses need to roam, they need to run, they need to have space. My realtor didn't seem to, he was kind of, I don't know the word to use, like startled over me saying that, because he's never heard anyone talk about this before. But that's why it's extra important for me to bring it up, because I see a lot of horses, lonely horses standing on an acre of trampled down lot. Can't even call that a garden. Lonely horses. Horrible. Absolutely. It's a nightmare for me to see that. Okay, that's why I talk about this in my videos. Horses are persons. Okay, they get lonely. They're herd animals. They need to be with a group. They need to be with friends, just as humans need to be with friends. Very important for people to know this, to understand this. You can't park your horse like a car. That's a living being, like you. They have needs. They need to be surrounded by other beings, at least companion animals, at least a cow or a pig, or a goat or a sheep. Okay, some kind of companion animal. Elephant or any animal. You can't leave a horse by themselves like this. It's very important information. So then I was talking to Philip last night on Facebook about this woman. I told Philip that I talk to ghosts sometimes, and he was kind of shocked about this, and I said, yeah, I'm a psychic, and this is a long story. There's one story in particular that stands out with this, where I have helped a ghost. And so I told Philip I'll make a video about it. I will talk about this in my video, because that takes a bit longer to talk about. And ultimately, all of these things, these subjects, tie in with one another. Okay, so let me explain this. So it was, when was this? We still had Kenny, our Great Dane. At that time, we were at the other house. I believe that was that 1 year where I did not leave the house, where I didn't leave the property, because Kenny had gotten so big that he wouldn't fit into the Prius anymore. So, and then I said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not making Kenny go into the Prius. So you're gonna have to exchange that Prius for a van. And it took him a year until he finally did. But he finally got the van and traded the Prius in, which was necessary, okay, for Kenny to do that. And so that 1 year, Kenny and I, we were at home at the other house. We're not here at this house. And I did all kinds of things during that time. It was kind of nice. I wrote music, I wrote mini songs, medieval music, and so on. I wrote a fairy tale, and suddenly there was a story on the news of a singer. I never heard her name before, ever. I even forgot the name now. Can't remember the name. But a singer, and Paul said, look, what happened here? a blonde singer. She looks a bit like you, skinnier though, more petite, a smaller frame, shorter, more little girl, a little, but in the face looked a little. She looked a little bit like me. I could see a resemblance. And petite, cute, beautiful blonde singer, country singer. I never heard about her, never heard her music. I don't listen to country music. So, but he showed me the photo of her, and then he told me the story. What happened to her? She was murdered. And it was late, obviously. They didn't say that on the news. They said that she shot herself, and they said she shot her dog and then herself. I absolutely don't buy it at all. I never did, not even for a second, okay, when I see those kind of cases. So I listened to her music. I got into that woman. I researched her, and I established a connection to her energetically, to her soul and ghosts, and to her energy of pain. And I could feel it. I saw what's going on. She had an ex who was fighting custody battles with her over her son. They constantly kept taking her son away from her. Her son was growing up with the mother of her ex, who was cruel to the child. She tried to get the child away from there, but they all ganged up against her. And she had a new boyfriend, and the ex could not handle it at all. So I could clearly see all of this. The ex came over, shot her dog, and then he shot her boyfriend. And then, no, first he came over and shot her boyfriend, and then he came over again another time, shot her dog and shot her, and laid the gun into her hand and made it look like suicide. And it was never investigated, the whole thing. So I could clearly see what went on there. So then, because I was really researching her for weeks, that what went on, because I felt so sorry for her and for her dog. She had a white short-haired dog too. There was a lot there were a lot of parallels between her and me, and I had Kenny, white, short-haired, albino Great Dane, extra huge, and she loved her dog just as much. And she was singing, and I was singing at that time, so just for myself. But she was famous, and I'm not famous, of course. It doesn't matter, we're both creative and very feminine, very, very girly, a lot of estrogen, attracting a man like her ex, who is very dominant, very possessive. So we attract men like that. And so I felt a very strong kinship to her, like she's my sister, like my little sister. And so during that time, I talked about this also in my videos. I still had almost black curly hair and bushy, thick, not really bushy, but like fanned out eyebrows, really dorky. And extremely dorky, dork of the darkest. And so I bought a blonde wig on the internet because I wanted to play that girl. That was really kind of like a little bit tricky energetically, because we had already made that connection, and then me playing her like this got me even more into it energetically. And so I was kind of imitating one of the songs that she was singing. I forgot how the song went, but I was trying to sing part of her song with that wig on in the video, kind of like in a playful, not in a mocking way, but in a playful way. And I talked about her story. And that night, after I made that video, that night, something very bizarre happened in the bedroom upstairs when we still had the king size bed, king size bed in the master bedroom, which is my studio now at the other house. And we all three slept in it. Kenny, Paul and I. Kenny always in between Paul and me. And I already started to go into my own room. After I go to the bathroom, I wouldn't come back all the way up. I would then go into my own bedroom and sleep there. So I slept there for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours next to Kenny, with my arm around Kenny, and then had to go to the bathroom downstairs, and then I went into my own bedroom and into my own bed, and suddenly I hear Paul say really loud, "What's the matter?" I'm like, what's going on there? And I called up to him through the staircase. I said, "What's going on? I'm already in my own bedroom." He came to the door of the staircase, and he said, "Where are you? Did you already go downstairs?" I said, "Yeah, I was already in my own bed." And he said, "I saw you sitting. I just saw you sitting. Or I thought it was you. I saw a woman sitting at the edge of the bed where I would sit when I sit down to lie down next to Kenny. A woman was sitting there at the edge of the bed next to Kenny, and Kenny didn't say anything or bark or anything." And that creeped me out. That made my hair stand up on end. But I was kind of tired, and I went back to bed. I thought, this can wait for tomorrow. I don't even want to get creeped out any further. So then when we got up, I asked him what exactly happened, so what he saw. And he dismissed it all. He's an atheist. Like, even if he saw Jesus walk on water right in front of him, he would he would dismiss it. He would go into denial. He would have to explain that away. Some kind of Fata Morgana, some kind of mirage, some kind of shadow, whatever, reflection. He'll come up with some kind of excuse. So he explained to me what happened. He was, after I'd gone to the bathroom, I may have walking down the stairs, or I don't know, I may have woken him up, or he got out of a deep sleep and came more into waking up phase or something, and then I guess he woke up, but he was still kind of sleepy, and he looked over to my side, and there he saw a woman sitting at the edge of the bed, and he thought that was me. And suddenly that woman drops down onto the floor in front of the bed, was making noises also, like thumping noises. And he says, "What's the matter?" Because he thought it was me having some kind of emotional fit, which I have had in the past. So that's what he saw. And then when he went over there was nothing there. Okay. And he explains it away by saying that it was just because he wasn't looking correctly. He was kind of like looking through squinty eyes because of, when we're sleepy, we have kind of like tear crystals that burn our eyes, and so we kind of squinty. But if I'm squinting my eyes like this, I still don't see a ghost if I'm looking right. So why would he see a ghost if he has his eyes squinted like that? No, that doesn't make so much sense. And he's just trying to explain that away, because he doesn't want to face it. He has a lot of fear in him of ghosts. Trust me on that. He would never admit that to you. Because one time, and that was still in the beginning, after we had gotten that other house. So there was activity going on in that house, for sure. There were energies in that house. Not just one, there were several. And they also dock onto other energies. And it's not just like, it becomes a collective, sort of, when they hear about these, when I deal with something energetically of someone with pain, then the others can relate to this and dock onto it, and then collectively they can create something like this, some kind of image, or they will support the other one to show herself and stuff like that. They all want to be seen, ultimately. They want to come through to us like, "Hello, I'm here, I want you to see me." The same with your own emotional pain. That's the exact same thing. You have your own inner ghost in that way. Energies that want to be resolved, seen, felt, cried through, discussed, talked about, not ignored. And she was glad I was discussing her case. She was very grateful for all of this. That's why she came and showed herself like this. But she didn't show herself to me directly, because I have been saying from day one in that house, please don't show yourself directly to me. Come to me in thought form, in other ways. Don't show yourself to me directly. I will get a heart attack. I cannot possibly be confronted with that without getting a heart attack, or a nervous breakdown of some sort. So she knew that and respected that. I'm in the process of making a video right now. So instead she showed herself to Paul, okay, on the edge of the bed. Okay, go ahead and lock the door. And he tells me about it, and he's in denial about it, and he tries to explain it away with something else. But one time he was downstairs in front of my closet. I have a closet, a walk-in closet, where I have my diatomaceous earths, my bentonite clay in large Tupper containers, and also a very large portion of my wardrobe hanging on hangers. And that door to that wardrobe, that walk-in closet, that door was opening up to the hallway like this. And that door was kind of like, I don't know, what's it called? The hinge of that door was it was very well oiled. I guess he had put WD-40 into it, and it was very well oiled, and it would come open very easily like this, and any wind could blow this also very easily. So one time it was quite windy outside, and it could have been the wind. I don't know, but it looked to me like there was more going on than just the wind. Because one time Paul was standing in front of my closet, we were trying to figure out how to anchor that door in, and so that it would stay open and not be closing or be flapping around with the wind. And he was trying to figure out how, he's done a bunch of stuff like this with doors and did a very good job. But that was still in the beginning, when there were these entities that were still like trying to, that they were still clinging to that house. I helped all of them, by the way, all of them. They're all at peace now. They're still in love with the house and all of this, but they don't need to be. They're at peace now. So, and they're not hanging out at the house anymore. So this is all very good. All happens through, if you just start one process with yourself or with one ghost, then the other one will benefit. The other ones will all benefit from it. That's the key of the energetic healing process. It goes much deeper than anyone can possibly imagine. Okay, so Paul was standing in front of that closet, and suddenly there was a mild wind going through the house, and closing the door in front of him like this, but not closing the door all the way, because suddenly the door would open all the way up and close all the way and open all the way up again right in front of him, like back and forth all the way like this. So I don't think a wind can possibly do this. Maybe a wind can do it, but I don't think so. A wind would maybe wobble the door part way, not all the way open, all the way closed, all the way open and closed again, several times back and forth. And that was going on with the edge of the door coming by his nose like this, and he was standing there like this, and suddenly the atheist, he talks to the door. He says, "What do you want?" I stand there at the end of the hallway observing that. This was very interesting. I could clearly see there was more than the wind going on. And again, they're showing themselves to him, not to me in that way. But I saw it, so it was scary. I was very scared. In the beginning, in the first 3 years we were living at the other house, I was very, very scared. I did not want to experience something supernatural. That was so frightening to me. And I healed with them together. We together healed through this. I am no longer afraid. Can you imagine? I'm no longer afraid. Because we healed through this. This is that's dramatic. And it is absolutely amazing. Okay? Because it's not just like one person healing, it's always a collective healing process. We heal together. We are together in all of this, all of us. Paul says, "What do you want from me?" And then the next moment, his which side of the brain? The left side of the brain. The rational, the reasonable, the more cognitive side of the brain says, "Bullshit. That was irrational. This, you made that up. That's just the wind." So it's very interesting. I can talk about this forever and ever and ever. It's already an hour of video now. But they have found out in people that the right side, the right hemisphere, which is counterlaterally connected to the left side of the body. That is the artistic side of the brain, and that artistic side of the brain is more in touch with the infinite, and that artistic side is in touch with the supernatural, and that is in touch with that what people call God. That's the infinite cosmos, the creation process itself. Okay. That side of the brain always knows that that exists. His too, but he wants to deny it. His left side of the brain, left hemisphere, wants to deny that. He declares himself an atheist. But there's his entire brain, there's much more going on. There's a part of him that is conscious about all of this. So there's part of him that is absolutely terrified of it. That's where this "what do you want" came from. So obviously then he wants to deny it inside of himself. He's in a lot of resistance to a lot. So the way these two stories of the horses and the girl tie in with one another is the message is we're all in this together. We're not that different from one another. The horses, you, myself, Paul, the girl, the singer, her ex. We play different roles, we have different hormones, we have different identifications. Ego sees our egos attach themselves to our hormones and identifications, society standards, and so on, and then view things lopsidedly but ultimately we're all mammals, we're all entities. Okay, the ghosts are entities. They once were in a mammal form. They had pain that has not been processed at all. That's why they come back to certain places, and they need someone to help them through this, to help them work through it. You don't have to be in the physical existence, in a physical body, in order to work through this. You can do that energetically. Okay, so we're all in this together. My healing process is your healing process. We're not separated in this way. That's the oneness of energy, ultimately. So I was scared, about all of this, with the story with the girl and all of that, and I felt bad that I made that video. I felt like that had directly to do with this. But she talked to me energetically, and she said, "Don't feel bad. It's okay. You helped me with this, and that made me feel better. She helped me. I helped her. We helped each other. And I made videos, and I said in my videos what really happened with that girl, what I believe really happened, and she was thankful to me for that, because she just wanted someone to talk about that and clear that up. Even if no one else will accept that my theory, my hypothesis, my assumptions about it, whatever they want to call it. So I call it insights. So I have a very clear insight about it, and she deserved to have someone talk about that from that point of view, really feeling her and understanding her. That was the most important part, okay, for her, to put her mind at ease, at rest. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about in this video, and I'll talk more about the paranormal, of course, in my other videos. So there's endless stuff to talk about. Okay, you guys take care.